on that note, he was inclined to do the song. Now, this song's about a little boy that stuttered. He stuttered so bad he left home, and he wandered all over East Texas looking for a place to live, because everybody made fun of the way he talked. They came into a little town where they had a big sawmill. They called it the rolling mill. And he found out the rolling mill belonged to one Mr. Charlie. So he found Mr. Charlie and went up to him and he said, Mr. Charlie? And Mr. Charlie said, what you want with me, boy? He says, I want to work. And Mr. Charlie said, well, you're too little to work, boy. Just get on out of here. And the little boy turned around and he walked away crying. Mr. Charlie felt sorry for him, so he said, come back here, boy. I think there's something you can do for me here at the rolling mill. He said, now, I've got an old shack out behind the rolling mill, and you could live in that shack just as long as you want to. You only have to do one thing for me, and that's to keep an eye on the rolling mill. Because if the rolling mill ever catches on fire, I want you to come run over to my house and tell me about it. A little boy moved into that little shack, and he was tickled to death to have a place to live. Now, one Sunday morning, the little boy woke up and he looked out the window, and sure enough, the rolling mill had caught on fire. So he went running up the lane to Mr. Charlie's house. He found Mr. Charlie out in the backyard working on his rose bushes. So he went running up to Mr. Charlie and started pulling on his pants leg going, Mr. Charlie, Mr. Charlie. And Mr. Charlie says, what you bothering me about now, boy? Can't you see I'm busy? And the little boy was so excited he couldn't talk. He just did the Mr. Charlie. And Mr. Charlie said, son, if you can't tell me what you're trying to tell me, why don't you just sing it? And the boy went, whoa, Mr. Charlie, your rolling mill is burning down. And he said, whoa, Mr. Charlie, your rolling mill is burning down. Mr. Charlie said, well, we ain't got no water, boy. Just have to let that old mill burn down to the ground. And the little boy started going, whoa, Mr. Charlie, I won't have no place to stay. Stay. And Mr. Charlie said, well, you can live right here with me, boy, long as there is a day. And the little boy started off down the road going, whoa, Mr. Charlie, your rolling mill is burning down. Charlie, your rolling mill is burning down. Mr. Charlie said, well, we ain't got no water, boy. Except let that old mill burn down to the ground. Now, I'm not going to go into all the implications of why it was so important for the boy to come tell him the rolling mill was going to burn down if they didn't have any way to put it out anyway. I guess maybe that was just his way of giving the little boy something to do. He gave his life some meaning, even though there wasn't any water and there wasn't anything they could do about it anyway, was there? Anyway, recently they dedicated a state historical monument to Lightning Hopkins over off of Dowling Street over there where he used to hang out and played. And that was that point at which I heard the story that he just hated to play with anybody, much preferred to play by himself. So I count myself lucky to be one of the few people that ever actually played on stage with Lightning. And at the end of the night, that night during that thing I just told you about, the guy that worked at the PA system, the board at Liberty Hall, came to me and says, "Well, I've got this cassette here where I recorded what happened tonight, so I have a cassette of all of that."